Hello everyone, today's poem is Daya, Mian, Part 2. In Part 1 video, we have gone through the background stories of this poem, and some of the background stories are not reflected in the poem. So basically, this poem is about the new settlement, or they moved to a new place and built a new settlement of the Zhou tribe. And since this new settlement, the Zhou tribe has established the very decent social structure, so they behave as a state, not a primitive tribe anymore. And in the part 1 video, we also gone through 4 paragraphs of this poem. The first 4 paragraphs, which gave us the introduction of the story that the Lord Danfu, he was the 12th generations of the Zhou tribe, and he moved from a place so-called as Bin to the place so-called as Zhou, or namely in this poem, Qixia, the place downhill of the Qi mountain. So they managed to make the plot of the new settlement. They also used the oracle bone or the turtle shell to see if it's good or not, the divination. That's a very typical behavior of that ancient Chinese. And everything looks positive, and they allocated the land to the people, the land for the housing, the land for the farming field. And then we get to the 5th paragraph. 乃召司空，乃召司徒，痞瘁家室. So the Father Dan, the Lord of Zhou, he summoned, he named 2 positions. One is Sikong, the other is Sıtu. Sikong is one of the 3 high-ranking officers in Zhou dynasty, and the responsibility of this position is to manage all the industries. Kong, in very ancient time, it was written as Gong, the worker. So he managed 100 industry lines of workers. So the position is that not only take care of the industry itself, it also take care of or manage all the labors. So the positions in the Zhou dynasty, they all mean 2 things. The function itself, like today, also they are in charge of all the labor or all the people. It's the same thing as Sıtu. So in the ancient times, Sıtu, to write as Tu, the earth, the land. So what does he manage? He managed the farmland. He also managed all the building work, because the construction, building work, the industry, even today in Chinese we call it as 土木工程. So the construction, the building industry, it's used the most critical 2 things to as the industry name. One is earth, 土木, the other is wood. So if you go to a Chinese, ancient Chinese buildings, the only 2 components, either it's earth or something made of earth, or it's wood. The pillars, the backbones are all woods. The wall and the roof are all made of earth. The people who is doing the construction work or who is doing the farming work is under the management of this position, Sıtu. So he has both functions manage this thing as today. He also, all the people is under him and controlled or managed by him. So these two positions is the most critical position in the Zhou dynasty because they are not responsible for the industry, for the productions. They are also the two key officers for the wars. When the war comes up, all the workers, all the farmers, all the construction workers, they are the soldiers. They change to the soldiers. And then these two officers became the two generals in the war. So you can see they have a lot of the responsibilities, not like today. And they are very, very the two pillar positions in the Zhou dynasty. So this sentence tells us that the Zhou tribe became a true state from this day. They have the government fully built and functioning, and they are also built a very, very formal town with wall, with temples, with great temples. The temple is, you can treat it as the physical form of a government, the temple. So they since they moved to this new settlement, they have everything. They are a very, very formal state right now. So the next sentence, 痞里家史 led them to erect the temple, the family temple. So the family temple symbolized here actually is the government. 其绳则直，缩板以载，作庙一一。So they use the rope to make the line straight. They use wood panel to construct the wall. And finally, the big family temple erected, and the roof is like the wing of the birds. It's huge and covered up. So here, the rope, the wood panel, they all paralleled. They use a very, very strict rule and regulation to build the new settlement. The straight rope used to make the line means or parallel, the rules is very strict, straightforward. And the wood panel, tighten the wood panels means they have a very strict management, or they executed it very strictly, the rules. And finally, the big, thus the big ground temple can erect up perfectly. The sixth paragraph gave us a very, very detailed, vivid description how they do the construction work. So this link is a video that tells you how the Chinese construction, or how the 土木工程 it was like. So let's go to the paragraph first, and then you can watch the video later and see how the construction work it is. 鸠之薮薮，度之薨薨，筑之登登，绡履缝缝. So the four sentences actually gave us the simulation of the sound of four actions or four construction works. 居之薮薮. 薮薮 is the sound simulation word. 鸠 means to use the shovel, dig into the earth. So when you dig into the earth, it has the sound 薮薮. And then 度之薨薨, still you have the shovel in your hand, and then you swing the shovel and pull over the earth into the model. And when the earth fell into the model, it has the sound, hong hong. And then they punch the earth in the model. So 筑, that is 筑之薨薨, 筑 is punch the earth, and the sound is 噔噔噔. So that's the sound simulation word. 痟履缝缝. 缝缝 is the sound when the worker use some tools to flatten, to cut the surface wall, to make it flat. So that's the sound when they cut and flatten the surface of wall. The repeating sound simulation words 人人, 轰轰, 噔噔, 缝缝, they show us such a vivid and a real scenario, a construction field, and especially the happiness, the joyful of those people who are doing the construction work. Just imagine you just buy a new house. The first day you went into your new house, and you are just imagine, this is the living room, this is the kitchen, I will have this, I will have that, and this is my bedroom, I will have this, I will have that, and this is my gaming room, I will have this, I will have that. Or even you are a capable person and you are building your new house with your own hand. So just imagine when you're doing all the construction work and all the things in your brains is joyful, your plot for the future, and all the imagination of your future life. So this is why they repeatedly have such detailed descriptions on the construction work. Because if you have been through that construction work, or you have been part of the construction work, that's the most happy moments in your life. Maybe you are building a new family, you are building a new state, you are building a new country, you are building your own future. That's why they use so many words for such a simple construction work. That's the joyful, that's the future of them. Okay, the next sentence. 百堵皆兴, 高古浮盛. Hundreds of walls has been erected, and the sound was much louder than the ground drum. 堵 is a quantity to describe a piece of wall. It could be several meters long, wide, but anyhow we are not quite sure. But since the hundreds of walls has been erected, we know it's a town. So we can see from other poems, if it's mentioned, they have put up hundreds of walls. It's a town of a state lord. So this also indicates the Zhou people. They build a new settlement. They build a new state, because in the Zhou dynasty, the size of the town also is very, very strictly limited to the size according their levels, their social levels. If you are a state lord, or if you are a junior state lord, or if you are not a lord, it's just a lord, you're just a simple landlord. A simple landlord may not have to build the city wall. So this clearly gave us an indication. The Zhou tribe changed, or they became a strong, powerful state since this new settlement. 高鼓 refers to the biggest drum, and this is telling us the sound of the construction work is much louder than the sound of the most ground drum. Okay, the 7th paragraph. 乃立府门，府门有抗；乃立应门，应门锵锵。Then they erect the front door. 府门 is the front door, the door at the most outside, just like the picture. 府门有抗，有 is means double the character followed. So 府门有抗 equivalent to 府门抗抗. 抗 is very high, so it tells us the front door is big and very high. So this is all the power and the social status it shows from the front door. And then they erect the inner doors. So there's two major doors to a palace. So it's not a palace in that time, but it's so-called as gong. Today we call gong as palace, 故宫, the forbidden palace, 故宫. And at that time it's called as gong, but I'm not quite sure it's equivalent to the English word palace, but let me call it palace. So the inner gate or inner door was so called as 应门. 应门锵锵. 锵锵 also describes it's a very big and high gate, high door. So there is some of the arguments here that so because we don't quite follow the real rules or code of conduct in Zhou dynasty, but there's a saying that only the king could have the inner door for his palace, the 应门. So here the Zhou people, they built the second door, 应门, so which means they for themselves, or they believe they are a king already, because they dare to build this second inner gate, inner door, 应门. So it's just a saying, so it's hard to tell because we don't quite know exactly how the real situation in the Zhou dynasty or pre-Zhou dynasty. But this poem, most of the people today, we believe it's quite real. So they built two doors, the front gate, front door, as 府门, very big, very high, and they built second door, the inner door, inner gate, 应门. Okay, then 乃立种土，容丑有形. Then they erect the temple. 种土 is also a temple, the temple for the earth, the temple for the god. So they basically they have two major type of temple, the ancestors temple, and then 种土, the temple for the earth, for the god. So this is a very key temple, because if they want to declare a war, or they start a war, they need to come to this temple to make the swear, to make their plan first, and then they swear with all the noble persons, all the high-ranking officers, and then from here they start their journey, their march, and go to the battlefield. So the next sentence, 容丑有形, means if they declare war to those people was so called as 丑. 丑 means two things, to the slavery, or the people are the different people, or the people are different of other countries. So if they 容丑有形 means if they want to declare wars. They have a place. What place? The place of Zhou, the place of the temple, 社. So there's another term, 社. It's very, you can see this term very popular if something about Chinese traditions, 社. And the 社 also has a very, very important meaning, which means gather people. So the very ancient state or town means to gather the people together, and the Lord is capable to rule them and also to protect them. That's the very primitive state, primitive country for. The Lord should be a very capable person. He should help them to make a living first, and then he should be capable to protect the people. In this way, the people will tend to follow him and gathered with him. Now the 8th paragraph. 四不填绝韵，以不韵绝问。四 means now, today. So what about the status now? What about the status today? All the hundreds wall has been erected. The family's temple has been erected. The door, the palace has been erected, and the temple of earth, 社, has been erected. So the two major temples both has been erected. The construction work has been done, and we are a very, very decent state already. We have our officers, and we have our social structures. We have our code of conduct. We have our laws, and everything is ready. So now, 四不填绝韵 means we are not afraid anymore if anybody is angry with us. So this is a little complicated, which means with the state built, with the people gathered together here, they are very powerful and strong state, and they are not afraid of other people, other tribes around, with other states around. If other tribes, if other states feels angry or they want to invade the Zhou state, the Zhou people would never feel afraid of them anymore. So 不填 means they won't do good to those who are angry with us. So the real meanings, actually, we are not afraid of our enemies. So the next sentence, 以不韵绝问. 韵 means to put down, or actually which means you turn away something. 问 is ask or question. So this is also the referring to the relationship between other tribes, between other states. If they want to have a war with us, we are not afraid. If they ask something from us, we won't turn it away. So we are a very friendly state. If you are friendly with us, if you want something, you want to help, we will help you. So this tells the two major responsibilities or the characters of the Zhou new state, of this state. They are powerful, they are capable, and they are very friendly. 坐欲拔矣，航道对矣。坐 and yu are two type of woods. So in the surface means these woods has the new leaves. It's springtime, everything is booming. But actually, I think it's actually parallels by the sound. 坐玉, yu means the land, the country land. So the 坐玉白蚁 means actually we have built our boundaries. We have built our street very well already. 航道对蚁, Han is the very wide road, is the Broadway, we could say that. 航道对蚁, so the Broadway and the normal road are all connected. They are built, they have been done, it's all built. So this actually tells us there's a huge amount of construction work. Even they have built the town very well, but they still spend a lot of the time to build the whole state land. The Broadway strongly implies the chariots. The chariots is just like the nuclear bomb for today. It's the very strategic weapon, and the Broadway basically is only for the chariot. Okay, the next sentence. 坤夷退矣，惟其会矣. The character 混 here should be read as 坤. 坤夷 is the term of a trap, a savage trap in the ancient Chinese mindset. So it's not Chinese, they are not considered as Chinese. So 坤夷退矣 means they run away. So those savage traps run away. Why? Because the Zhou state, they built their state land, they built the road, so they have the capability to use their military power within their land and attack to drive out all those savage traps who don't do good, who are not friendly with the Zhou people. 惟其会矣, hui means really sick. So this is status when the savage trap run away. Actually, they are defeated and they are not conquered, which means they lost. A lot of them are killed. They had to run away with only some of their people, with only some of their assets left. So it's a big victory of the Zhou people. Okay, the last paragraph, the ninth paragraph. This paragraph was doubted by many people through the history that it's not belong to this poem. So in the very ancient time, the book was basically by the bamboo stripe. So if the bamboo stripe, just imagine if it's a book like Book of Songs, how many bamboo stripe it would cost. And when they store the books, the stripe could be very easily to be mixed up or mismatched. So we call it 错剪. So this paragraph very likely could be a mismatch and wrongly attached to this poem. So I have my only reason to doubt it's a mismatch, because this poem has 9 paragraphs. So this is so weird. So if you know something about Zhou Yi, the yin yang, it's about yin yang and the Zhou Yi and the figure. So the universe could be matched to the figure from 1 to 9, and the figure 9 only belongs to heaven. So what about the king, the emperor? The king and emperor goes to the figure 8. He was the son of heaven. He was under the heaven. So this poem is about the founder of the Zhou state. Even the Zhou people treat him as the king, the first king of Zhou. Actually, he was not treated as the first king of Zhou. Even the Zhou people honored him as the first king of Zhou. They cannot have 9 paragraphs songs for him. So that's the reason, or my personal reason. And there's another very obvious reason is everybody's know it. The last paragraph is about King Wen, who is the grandson of Dan, Father Dan, described in this poem. So how could a son, he used 8 paragraphs talking about the grandfathers who was the founder of the Zhou state, and in the last paragraph it's just about the grandson who was the real king of the Zhou dynasty, and who actually was honored as the second king of the Zhou dynasty. The first king was his father. Of course, that is an honorable title. Okay, let's go to this mysterious but a little bit weird paragraph. 与瑞至绝成，文王绝绝生. Wow, that's reading very funny. So that's a very ancient wordings. 与瑞 is 2 states. And the story is they have some of the arguments about their boundaries, their land. And they know the King Wen was a very, very nice and with the most high virtue person. So they said, okay, let's King Wen to settle down our arguments, and let the King Wen to decide how we divide or divide our land, decide the boundary. So both the 2 kings of from Yu and Rui, they went to the King Wen, and when they entered to the Zhou state, and they feel how the normal people act so politely, they 谦让, so that's which means humble, and always gave your way to others, no arguments. You just gave your way to others. So when the 2 kings entered to the land of the Zhou state, both of them feel how differently the Zhou people behave. And they feel so shameful for themselves because they combat with each other. They argue with each other. So before they meet the King Wen, they decided, okay, let's forget our arguments, and I will give my way, I will give my land to the other party. And finally, the argument was settled down before meet with King Wen, Zhou Wenwang. So the next sentence, 文王绝绝生 means 绝 means moved, 生 means their characteristics, their emotions. Here they contribute all the reason to the King Wen. Of course, the fundamental reason is King Wen, but actually it's by the when they saw the behavior of the normal people in the Zhou state. But in this poem, everything, all the glories goes to the God, right? So they contribute everything to the king Wen. So the king Wen moved their characteristics, their way of thinking, their emotions. So they decided they won't argue anymore. So this is a very, very famous story in the history book, because this is a key factor that the Zhou state defeat the previous Shang dynasty, because more and more state and the tribe, they went to King Wen and decided to follow everything that the Zhou state, the King Wen, would like to do. And they just refuse, or they just don't listen to the previous Shang dynasty. And this story is a very, very, very key reason for that. Okay, the last sentence. 鱼月有叔父，鱼月有先后. As such, so I said, we made those used far away from us, not friendly with us. They come to us, and we are friendly with each other. And we make those left behind and make them to step up and keep up with us. Shu means the two parties are far apart, which means they don't have a good relationship. Fu means let the other party to come to you, so which means the two parties became very good, have a good relationship. So this means with the story we just told of the King Wen, and with all the Zhou people, they all show a very, very high moral standard. They are so polite. They are so good to others. They don't argue. They always do good to others. So this situation let other tribes, let other states, they come to us and make friendship with us. And we also spend a lot of our efforts to let those someone left behind, which means some tribe, some people, or some country, they don't have a very good life. They don't have they have some problems. We help them to solve that. The following is same. 鱼月有奔奏. So I said, we made those peoples, they go back and forth, and they are talking about the things in our states, in Zhou states. What things? The story of King Wen and how the high moral standards the Zhou people have. 鱼月有裕惠. So thus I said, we have all our capacity to defend those enemies, because we have most of the people tend to be our allies. They want to be our friends, and we have done a lot of good deed to others. So we are not just a state, a small state, Zhou state. We are sort of the part of the country. We are half a country. We are a very primitive country. A lot of the other states, a lot of other tribes, they listen to us. They follow our orders. And all those people, all those states, all those tribes, they are the foundation. They are the power for us. And that's the source of our power to defend any enemy in the world. Sounds a very funny story, right? Well, I do believe it's a real story, and I do believe the moral standards of the human actually were getting lower and lower, and I don't know how low we could rich in the future time. Okay, that's for today. We have a very, very special poem with 9 paragraphs. And this story tells us the foundation, how they build a new state, how they lay the cornerstone of the Zhou dynasty. 绵绵瓜瓞，民之初生，自土沮漆。Okay, that's for today. Bye bye.